You are now tuned into the sounds of
Big Nate Sports Talk.
It's on all the time, anytime.
You are now tuned in to Big Nate Sports Talk, the show that is on all the time, anytime. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the next big thing, the latest up-and-coming sports journalist, your host, Nathan Snell.
Mr. Anthony Handy for that wonderful introduction. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host, Nathan Snell of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all having a great Friday. This is episode 7, season 16 of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. And in this episode, it is the final finale of the preseason game 3. The Washington Commanders are playing the Cincinnati Bengals. Before we get into that, there's a few things I'd like to say up front. You should have seen episode 6 recorded. I apologize if that episode came out late. Just a couple things happened. Just getting ready. My fall semester has already started. So the Ravens were recorded after this video. Get that out as well. Tomorrow, the Washington Mystics are playing the Las Vegas Aces. I'll be at the game. Again, thank you to the Washington Mystics for giving me the opportunity to once again cover this team in person. You can follow me on Twitter at @NathanSnell. And you can also follow me on MarylandSportsBlog.com, where you can catch my writings of recaps of the Washington Mystics, and I've been a couple behind on that past couple weeks. Also, too, Maryland women's basketball team will be ready. We will be ready for them this upcoming season once again. Try to see if I can get some writing for the Commanders and the Ravens, but our website already has those guys, so please check them out for football content. Maryland football is about at least a week away, so we're going to do a preview video on that. You'll probably see that preview video probably either tomorrow or Sunday, tops. I'll have all the other content out, released as soon as I can. In the meantime, if you're enjoying the content you're seeing, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Thank you for all the support you're giving me and this channel. You can also listen to me on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I know at least a season and a half behind uploading, so we'll get all of season 15 up as soon as possible. Let's just get into the game. In this episode, we are going to talk about the Washington Commanders versus the Cincinnati Bengals as they progress. We're getting so closely to week 1 of the regular season, but this is the final preseason game. As this is a little different this year, I should have mentioned this in the previous episodes, but we are doing something different. Instead of doing cuts week by week, every team is doing a massive cut. So from 90 to 53. So this is the last opportunity for some guys to really, really make a name for some of themselves on this team. I'm very curious to see how it'll all look. In this game, 3 things that kind of stick out to me. So I'll start with really personally how our defense, to me, is this key. When I watched them, they really, really did not do well in the game against Baltimore, particularly the corners. So I know, for example, Quan Martin, shout out to Sean Spencer, Will Kramer. They talked about this on their previous episode of Washington Football Weekly. Check them out. He's a guy that I'm going to be looking for. And I'm going to give some grace. This is an adjustment period to the league and different things like that. But at the end of the day, I would expect this from a rookie, and this is what. But again, Saint Juice and Forbes go down. Guys like him got to bounce back. He had a great game against Cleveland, and then Baltimore just don't know what happened. To me, I just feel as though on the defensive side of the ball, if you want to stick on this as well, I'm looking at Andre Jones Jr. I thought he's been having a great camp. He definitely should, to me, make the roster. He has a chance to be on the second team. They had, as far as early as April, May, June, low expectations for him. And he has blossomed. I was a little concerned because he looked like more of a development project, and he's developed pretty well. And I just feel like, for me, I see him making the team. Wild Goose, they signed him. They signed him to replace, Kendall Fuller, especially when Kendall Fuller and Brandon St. Juice went down with injuries. And he was wildly inconsistent. He showed flashes what he could be. I just think where it's going to come down to him or Quan Martin, and he just hasn't shown me anything, and I'd like to see him definitely show me some things in this game against Cincy. And this is where he's got it. This is where you make your money. For me, when we're sticking on the defensive side of the ball, we're just a defensive line, period. This is a deep group of defensive linemen. Guys like William Bradley King, 7th round pick, KJ Henry, again, development project, Abdullah Anderson. There's a couple other guys in there. We're looking for them and how they look in this game, particularly against the run. I'm looking at really the offensive line as well. Chris Paul, I feel like, has done really well. Even though I think they're going to lean more towards the leaning, I feel like Sadiq Charles might get the nod to be the starter. Chris Paul's making him run for it. I think Chris Paul's is a more physical player. I see how he just moves D tackles and even defensive linemen when creating running lanes. But when I look at Sadiq Charles, he's better in spacing the lanes, especially getting to linebackers, particularly. And I think Chris Paul has shown flashes of that, but they both, I think it's going to come down to, you might end up really, honestly, I think either one could be starter. But if I had to pick, I think Sadiq Charles would be the starting left guard for sure. There's a couple other guys on there too. I think Mason Brooks, I know Will Kramer and Sean Spencer, shout out to them again, talked about they're doing a 53-man roster. I'm in the middle of creating one as well for both Washington and Baltimore. And I actually have 10 offensive linemen actually making the team. But it's just a rough draft. Things will change after tomorrow's game against Cincy. For me, that's just the key. I'm just going to be watching the offensive line and defensive line particularly. For me, on the side of Cincinnati, I'm just curious to see how they look. I'm not really expecting much from them. I don't really think this is one of those, everyone's just going to go out there and just play well. The offensive line, to me, is pretty much set. Their backup quarterback situation, see how that looks. Charles Jones, I think, has about potential to be their punt returner. Miles Murphy's coming back from injury. I'm just curious to see how it all looks together. because right now it's between, for the quarterback situation, I believe it's Trevor Siemian and someone by the name of Jake Browning. Because they've definitely got first team reps throughout training camp. Because we all know Joey B is recovering from a calf strain. There's someone else by the name of Reed Sennett. He might get some love in there. He was actually signed by the Bengals just at the end of last month. I think it was about the 30th or 31st. I know he was in the XFL. He's with Tampa, Miami, and Philadelphia, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll be looking at that's something that keep your eye on the game. The offensive line. I still feel like their versatility still needs work. Just watching them. They're still working on some things. Particularly, you're kind of seeing some guys move from left tackle to right tackle, vice versa. I think there's a couple guys they've actually are swing tackles. I'm actually curious to see how that looks. I feel like their offensive line is going to be solid, even though I don't know. I still hold on to the fact that Panay Sewell should have been drafted. That's just my personal opinion. I know we'll talk about that. We'll bring up Panay Sewell's name again in the NFL preview. So to be tuned in for that. A couple other things. Miles Murphy, he was, I believe he was sick. Was not an injury, but he was out. Excuse me. He had an illness, if I remember correctly. He played 32 snaps against Green Bay, and he had 2 tackles, if I remember that stat correctly. I definitely feel like he's in the running for defensive rookie of the year. He's progressing pretty well, and you're going up against a decent offensive line. And again, like I said, just like Washington, Cincinnati's going to make some cuts too. This is for everybody. Everyone's got to show something in this, because we've got to make the cuts, I believe, by the 29th. That's actually 12, 13 days for week 1. So, man, it's going to be really interesting to see how these guys look. But I think they'll be fine. I think for me also, too, I'm just going to keep my eyes on the wide receivers, too. I still think Casimir Allen can make a case for himself. I don't see him being a slot receiver. I just see him being more returning, a special teams guy, because he's going up against Mitchell Tinsley, who I think is also just a special teams guy, Marcus Kemp and Dax Milliner for the 6th and final spot on that for the receivers. Dax Milliner was our punt return last year, and he didn't get past the 20-yard line. He's so far Allen, he's had 3 punt returns on going more than 15 yards. These guys, I just don't see any separation. So somebody's going to have to separate themselves to me in this game. And so as mentioned, Tinsley, I know he was an undrafted free agent. He's had some great catches. But some of those, especially I used the game against Baltimore, some of those were not smart plays. I could see what they were trying to do, but they weren't. It wasn't a good decision making at times from Jake Fromm, because I felt like the pass was rushed and the route didn't develop. There are flashes what he can be, but I'm not really. I don't see it. And then I want to clarify this comment I said in the last video. Jake Fromm, I felt as though the quarterback, the number 2 position, was kind of slightly opened. I should have said it like that. I didn't say I should not have said Jake Fromm it should be the backup. I want to clarify that. I think he showed an impressive outing against Baltimore, which would make Jacoby Brissett go, oh, okay, I got to play a little bit better. I think in my personal opinion, Jacoby Brissett can still be a starter in this league. I look at guys like Geno Smith as an example. That's what he was brought in here for. He was to make competition for Sam Howell. But respectfully, he hasn't done anything that will take Sam Howell's position. He's thrown 2 interceptions the first 2 preseason games, and that's I don't think that's a little disappointing. He'll be the backup, but I need him to be a little bit. And I think it's a new system, new offense. I'll give him some time to adjust, and that's fair. But other than that, I really, really feel confident going into this game. I don't see anything that's different. Terry McLaurin, he suffered a turf toe, so we'll see how that progresses. I feel as though that Washington will win. I'm looking along the lines of 18. No, let me do 2014. Guaranteed. I think Washington can definitely surprise them. I think those are just my keys. I think the keys, as Sean will say, keys to success. I think you guys got to come out really challenging their defense. I think running the ball is key. I think the offensive line has to be a little bit better giving protection to Sam, but also to discipline. In that Baltimore game, there was a couple silly calls that took away the momentum out of a drive. I think you got to have a better defensive first half, in my personal opinion. Guys have got to communicate. Communication's key, because that's something did not see. And shout out to Sean Spencer, he did point this out. Guys pointing, you got to be talking. I think that's key. Communication on defense. Other than that, I think just discipline, knock out the silly penalties such as the holding calls or not giving up big plays. Those are really my keys to victory for the Washington Commanders. So before we get into that, before we close out, the episode, let's get into the sponsor of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast, and that is Zagnif Apparel. Ladies and gentlemen, do you want to dress like you're already famous? You can and you will with Zagnif Apparel.
The following is a presentation of Zagnif Productions, LLC. Introducing Zagnif Apparel. Our comfortable line of leisure wear and athletic wear will have you comfortable and stylish at any occasion. Whether you're at the gym, out shopping, or just relaxing at home. Whether you're an athlete or just want to lay around the house, we've got the perfect outfit for you. Stop by our website today and pick up your favorite pieces. Zagnif Apparel. Dress like you're already famous.
You can and you will dress like you're famous with a nice 15% off your final purchase using my discount code, Big Nate, as you see on the screen here. Ladies and gentlemen, you will dress like you're already famous. Thank you, Zagnif Apparel, for being a sponsor of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be right back. let's move into the last part of the episode. That is the final thought.
Thoughts are running through my mind, so I took some time to find a minute or two to organize them.
Again, this is the last opportunity for everyone to show them, prove their worth to making the team. This is a little different this season. Doing week by week cuts, you're gonna do one large cut. So I feel like for the coaches, that's a little bit more strenuous. But I have a feeling the guys already know who. I think Ron, Eric, and Jack know, and the others know who's going to be on the roster, who's not. There's some guys who are definitely caught my eye. I think Sean Spencer, Will Kramer can say the same thing. But my simple final thought is just go out there and just play. Just keep things simple. Don't overcomplicate things. Treat it as like if this was your last game to play. Let them know that let people remember who you are. Let them remember your name. And that's just the approach that some guys got to have in this final preseason game. So best of luck to both teams. Commanders will finish preseason in my opinion with 2-1. It's a great way to start off a new era, new chapter for week 1 of this season. Say the same thing for the Baltimore Ravens, as we'll get into that video in a little while. But that's going to conclude this episode. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to the Big Nate Sports Talk podcast. Be tuned in for future episodes. Episode 8 will be out as well. I'll have these videos up by tonight. You'll see them first thing in the morning. Please like, comment, and subscribe for all future content. We're on the road to greatness, man, and just taking one day at a time. So that being said, it's your host, Nathan Snell, signing off. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Appreciate it. Stay out.
Your next stop is your success.
And clear negative eyes, please.
Thank you for tuning in to Big Nate Sports Talk. If you enjoyed that episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share the next big thing, the next up-and-coming sports journalist, Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
I want to thank you, yeah. I want to thank you. Ooh. For all the times you put up with me. Thank you. And you helped me retain my sanity. Thank you. I want to thank you. And I want to thank you. All I want to do is say thank you for everything you do.